Hi, I'm Jeff DeRiso from Beckman Collaborative, and today I'm going to show you how to capture the history of a lookup field in Zoho CRM. So for example, contacts sometimes move to different companies, so you want to be able to look back and see a history of all the companies they've worked for in the past. We'll achieve this by creating a custom module and 3 workflow rules to automate the entries in this new module. So every time the lookup field is changed, a new entry is automatically created in this custom module. The result will be a related list that will show a contact's history with different companies and when they worked there. So let's get into Zoho CRM and I'll show you how it works. So here we are in Zoho CRM. And one of the cool things about Zoho CRM is that you can have history tracking for a pick list. So if I click on one of these deals here, you can see we have a related list called Stage History. And stage is essentially a pick list of different stages. And if we click on that, you can see when it was in different stages and when it was moved to that stage. And actually, any pick list that you create, whenever you create a pick list in Zoho CRM, you can choose whether or not you want to enable history tracking. So that is a very cool feature. But what we want to do today is actually create a history tracking related list just like this, but for a lookup field rather than a regular pick list. And the first thing we need to do to create this account history for each contact is to go to our left sidebar and click the plus sign and select New Org Module. And here's our screen where we create our module. We can give it a name, a plural name and a singular name, and we can drag and drop any type of field into the layout here. But I've already done that, so I'll quickly go back and show you the module I've already created. So here's the custom module I already created. Now, you can see that I've named it Account History, and both the plural and singular name is simply Account History. So you can use the same name if you want to. And that updates this name field, which is a default field that you cannot remove. So the most important part of this module, of course, is our lookup fields for our contact and our account, because this is a record that links this contact's relationship with this account. So you get your field here, your lookup field, drag it out there, and you make sure that you name the related list what you want it to look like in the contacts module. I've used account history, and then I've done the same thing with the account lookup field here, and we call it the contact history, and that related list will show every contact who's ever worked at that company at any point. And then I've added some other custom fields that are unique to this contact's relationship with this account. These are, of course, optional fields. You can still create this history without these custom fields that I added. And you can, of course, add any other fields that you want. So the fields I've added are start date and end date and a formula field called duration in days. So I'll show you this formula field. So creating a formula field is pretty easy. You can have your formulas here, and I've used the date between function. You simply click insert, and it inserts the text. And you have your fields over here. You click insert, and it inserts this text for this field. So this expression is calculating the days between the start date and the end date, and it's representing that in days. You can also do years, months, weeks, hours, or minutes. So once you're done with your formula, you can click done. And again, these fields are, of course, optional. Really, all you need is the lookup fields here. So when you're done with that, you click save and close. And the next thing we want to do is to make sure that our related list in our contacts module, which is where we want to see this related list, is showing the columns that we want. So we go into our contacts layout, and on this top tabs, we select Detail View. And when you first create the module, it'll be all the way at the bottom, the new related list. But I've already moved it up here. You can move these around, these related lists in your Detail View. And then if you click Customize here, this allows you to select and deselect which fields from your custom module will show up in this account history related list. And this is really the end goal of why we're doing this, is to show this history. So you can see I've brought in the start date, end date, and duration. So that gives you a good snapshot of all the companies that this person has been involved with. So when you're happy with that, just click Save and Close again. The next thing we want to do is go back to our setup screen and create workflow rules. So automation workflow rules. We'll create a new rule. The module is the contacts, because this is what's triggering the creation of these account history records. We'll call it. And we'll execute when the contact is created and the account lookup field is not empty. And then in the actions, we select Create Record. And for our module, we select this newly created account history module. And here's where we merge fields from our contact and its related records into this account history record. And you can type the number key to insert merge fields. So if you hit Shift 3, it pulls up your merge fields. So I want my contact first name and last name, and then maybe a dash, and then the account name. And for our account, we'll take the account name value from the contact, and the contact, we just select current record. And for the owner, we just select reference and the contact owner. That way, the same person who's the owner of the contact will be the owner of this account history record. And then we can add additional fields here. So we'll select our start date, and we'll say on the date of execution, so trigger date plus 0. So on the day that this is created, we'll populate that start date field. And then we'll click Save. And you can click Save again, but I've already created this workflow, so I'm just going to click Cancel. So that will account for when new contacts get created with an account. But we also have to create these account history records when the account lookup field is modified. So we create a separate rule for that. And the trigger here is edited and specific field. And the specific field is that account name lookup field in the contacts is modified to any value. So then I have a condition whether if the account name is not empty, then we do the same thing where we create this account history record, the same one we did in the other workflow rule. Now, if that account name is empty, we run a function to update the end date of the previous account history record. Now, if your accounts field lookup field is mandatory, you don't need this because it won't allow you to input an empty value. So if your account name field is not mandatory, as it is in our case, then you will need to set this condition. Because, for example, maybe a contact leaves a company and then you don't know where they're working for their new company, or maybe they're just taking some time off and you want the end date to be correct, but you don't necessarily know what their new company is. So that allows you to set it as empty, and then we run this custom function here. And I'll quickly show you the code for that. We're getting all of our related account history records from our contact using the contact ID as an argument. And if we have any of those, we're iterating through those related records. And if the end date is null, empty, we're putting the current date as the end date. So that just closes out that previous account history. And that's if the account name is empty. Because we have that end date field, that complicates things. So we do also have to create a third workflow rule because of that end date field specifically. So this third workflow rule is when an account history record is created. And this applies to all account history records. And of course, account history is that new module we just created. So this function is very similar to our previous one. It gets the related list of account history and checks each entry. And as long as the current record, the current account history is not the same as the related list and the end date is null, then we update the end date. So it's almost the exact same function. But this one is being triggered once the account history record is created. So now that we've created our workflow rules to create the new records and to update our end date field, we're ready to see how it all works. So we'll go to our contacts module and we'll pick one of our contacts here. I believe this person has an existing account history. You see that Joan has started at this account on October 24th. So let's test this and let's change her account and see what it looks like. So we'll choose a different account and we'll save. And then let's refresh the page. And you see we have a new account history on this contact. So we'll click on that. And we see we have this new relationship here with the account history between Joan and this new company that started today, the date I changed the field. And then it updated the end date for her previous association to this company and automatically filled the duration field, which is a formula field that I showed you earlier. So this is the end result here. And however many times that Joan changes companies, you'll have a record of when she started and when she ended at each company. And that will give you an overall more accurate picture of your relationship with this contact. So that's how you create an account history for the accounts lookup field in the contacts module. This could, of course, apply to other lookup fields. So this is a very good use case for a very simple custom module. The great part about this is users don't have to go in and create these account history records. They just get created automatically through our workflow actions that create records. And then this end date field gets automatically updated by our custom function. So using simple things like workflow rules and custom functions can make this custom module really feel like it's part of your existing CRM and it works together with the other modules. And in the next video, I'm going to discuss another way to make a custom module feel like it belongs and feel like it's native to the application. And that is with client scripts. So stay tuned for the next video and we'll discuss that. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you got something out of it. Please leave any thoughts or questions in the comments and please subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching and we'll see you on the next one.